not least, we have Casey O'Hara from NC's at UC Santa Barbara that will advocate for open science much better than I did. So thank you.
Hi, thanks. So I'm at a disadvantage here because I'm a marine scientist that looks at global scales, talking to freshwater scientists looking at California scale, but I'll try to make it worthwhile. So I work on a project called the Ocean Health Index, and I'm not going to be talking too much about this. What I'm going to be talking about is our process and how we came to improve our process from what we thought was a very open and transparent and reproducible process into something that is far better today than when we first started out. Just really briefly, what we think about the ocean health is we think about the way that the ocean can provide sustainable benefits to people now and into the future, including things like food provision, ecosystem services like habitat or coastal protection, things like cultural values, economic values, and we look at 10 different goals. We score these across 220 different countries around the world, and we have done this annually for the past 7 years. And so this is a big undertaking. The original Ocean Health Index, when we first started out, something on the order of 20 different scientists working on it in full-time and part-time over the course of several years to develop the infrastructure for this. And our idea was to produce what we thought was a gold standard for reproducible, open, transparent science. So in 2012, we published the paper to great fanfare. Everybody's excited. And then 2013 rolls around, and we're going to take the same framework and we're going to apply it, we're going to update it with all the new and existing data. And we realized that despite having supplemental information in the original publication of 120 pages, like detailed descriptions of every data layer and every process that we did to it, we realized, wait a minute, we're trying to reproduce this thing and we had a really hard time with it. Part of that was because a lot of the data was on individual people's computers. A lot of the information and the processes were hidden deep inside like an email chain that's like 50 emails long. Things like that. We had focused so much, you can see in this bottom circle, we focused so much on the science, we hadn't thought so much about how are we going to make this reproducible farther into the future, aside from just documenting everything that we did. So in 2013, we spent a lot more time looking at repeatability. We started taking all of these idiosyncratic codes that people had put together, try to come up with some standards that were consistent within our group. We started figuring out how to incorporate some of this into online version control so that we'd be able to work collaboratively with people from across the country easily and repeatably. And so we started to develop over the next few years. We developed a lot of improvements to what we were originally trying to do. And by 2018, we feel like we did a pretty good job of making this reproducible because we were able to repeat the entire assessment using just a single lead, full-time lead researcher, 3 fellows that were only there part-time over the course of the year, and then 1 part-time trainer. And we were able to take that amount of science in that bottom circle there and turn it into a very tractable problem, reproducible, and get our scores out there. So basically at this point, our analyses, we feel pretty confident that they're transparent, they're reproducible, and we can repeat them each year quickly, cheaply, and efficiently because we have a few different ideas that we're trying to promote here. One is we embrace data science principles, and I'll go into each of these in more detail in a moment. But we've seen some of the ideas of data science, and Marcus mentioned that heavily in his initial talk. We use existing collaborative open data science tools beyond just R in our studio. We use Git and GitHub intensively within our process to tie all of our work together and to communicate it. And we also strongly engage collaborators within our own discipline, but also with the entire data science community. So even outside of marine science, outside of natural sciences in general, we go into, we talk to people that are doing different kinds of data science in all different fields. And this is particularly important for those of us that are in that intersection between science and policy, making our results transparent, repeatable, and reproducible so that policymakers can trust what we're talking about, that the public can have a trust in what we're trying to produce. So last year, my colleagues and I produced a paper, and this basically described our path, described that path from starting out where we thought we were doing a great job to where we feel much more strongly that we were doing a pretty solid job of it. This is available in Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. And we're not trying to say that our way is the right way. We're just trying to say that in a lot of cases there is a better way, and we're just kind of talking about the way that we struggled through, like we fought, we cried, we bled, and eventually figured out how to do ours in a better way. And so hopefully that can inspire you all to think about your own process. Part of it was just the exposure to what's out there, understanding what kinds of tools are out there. We weren't sure, we didn't know. And then part of it is just being able to feel confident enough to take the risk, get away from just the basic ideas that we've been working on for like the past few years, the stuff that felt comfortable to us, getting outside of our comfort zone. So with data science, one of the key things is that data science is a discipline in and of itself. So if we're doing natural science here, we have our kind of ideas about how we take data and we do these things to it. We produce some data visualizations, and then we produce some output, a report, a data set. But data science itself, separate from all of the natural science, there's theory, there's tools, there's like a whole study, a whole area of study that focuses just on data as like an abstract concept and what's the best way to work with that. Open data science tools exist. They're out there. We can take advantage of those. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. And community, this broad community of data science practitioners is really powerful, and it's a great tool for helping out. Talk briefly about some specific tools that we use for coding, version control, and collaboration and communication, but I'll just kind of skip on. So, data science principles. The first part is that the idea is we're taking raw data, you're turning it into understanding. Understanding for policymakers, understanding for other scientists, for the public, and so there's an emphasis on communication. There's also this body, as I said, of concepts, theory, and tools for how to think about how we work with data in an abstract way. And this is not just for big data. This isn't just like Google and Facebook that are doing data science. We can use those same concepts and ideas. This is, I think, an important thing, that the study systems that we all study individually, like they might be very unique, but the data is just data. So we can all use the same kinds of principles to leverage that idea of data science with any of the data that we're working with. Kind of a key data science model here is the idea of like taking your data, importing it, cleaning it up, getting it all nice and tidy into a format. This might be familiar to some of you if you're our studio people. This is tidyverse stuff. But the modeling phase of transforming, visualizing it, modeling it, and then communicating it. But one of the key steps is just to get that data into a tidy format in the first place. Think about your data, the data problems separately from the research questions that you're trying to do. Your data questions and then the research questions. Some of the tools that are out there, we can use these tools to enable open science. The transparency, this is one of the key things that we focus on. Everything that we do in the Ocean Health Index is freely available online. You don't have to ask, you can just go to GitHub and you can find all of our code, all of our process data, all of the raw data sets we leave at the original site. But free and open access to data is like a key core driving principle of ours. But a lot of these tools are also super helpful for communication, for collaboration, not just managing your own work, but also communicating that and working with others. And this is super important. When we were starting out, we were terrified. And so when you reach out to people, all of the people that are involved in this stuff have been super helpful, super nice, and like they want to help, like they're eager to help. So Don't be afraid. So in terms of collaborators and community, there's all these different organizations that are out there that are doing great work, that are supporting scientists in terms of doing the best data, the best science that we can, using principles of data science. But one of the key collaborators, the way that we tend to think about our work is that our most important collaborator is future you. So when I'm coding, I'm thinking to myself, a year from now, we're gonna have to redo this analysis. So am I gonna look at this piece of code and have to think for like 2 or 3 hours about what it is that this does? Or can I just look at it and it's well commented, it's like well organized, and I can just hit go and trust in what that is. So future you is an important collaborator. So talked about some of the general principles, talked about some of the specific tools, and it seems like a lot of people are already familiar with R&R Studio, which is great. If you're not, there's a workshop tomorrow. So go to that and check it out. It's a great system. The advantage of coding, I'm probably speaking to the choir here, but preaching to the choir. It basically reproduces the full process of your data preparation from start to finish, including the data visualization, so you can update your data, hit a button, and boom, you got an updated graph. It communicates the function and intent of what your code is trying to do to an outside audience, policymakers or the public or other scientists. And it leaves a lasting record, and this is particularly important as you're trying to look at what you're doing now compared to what you were doing a year ago, 2 years ago. Having that lasting record of what your process was will give you a better insight into what you're trying to do with it now. So we use R, has a lot of great advantages. It's great, check it out. We use it with RStudio, also great. I'm gonna skip ahead on this because I know we're short on time. I know this is the last presentation before happy hour, so let's get to that. So version control, this might be something that people might not be as familiar with. So the basic idea is you finish up your project and you got a few files, and then your work plan, oh, somebody just went and edited your work plan. Now you got another copy of it. And then you got work plan 2. All right, we're set, we're done. Whoops, found some errors in it. You go and you update it. Pretty soon your folder looks like this, and you're like, wait, which one am I supposed to be using? Which one am I supposed to be sharing with other people? And I think we've all been there, judging by some of the chuckles. So that's where Git and GitHub come into play. So the basic idea, so Git is a long-standing version control software, and GitHub is a web interface for that. The idea is that person one can be working on a piece of code or a document or whatever, and they can be working on their own local computer. They can take that, they can put that out to the web, to GitHub, and then person two, they can get that version from the web, they can edit it, they can code it up, they can change some lines, they can push it back out to the web with a little comment saying what it was that they changed. And person one can get that, they can fix it, they can add a comment, and so it goes back and forth. So you can basically kind of hand this document back and forth really easily with every single change is like tied to a message that says what it was that you were trying to do. And you can roll back that history. So you only have to keep one file, and all of that history is saved on the web. And you can also do this simultaneously. So person one and person two can both be working on the same file. When you push them back out to the web, it figures out which lines to go where, and you can do this with multiple collaborators. It's a great way of having a reproducible workflow across a large group. So coming back to the collaboration and communication part of it, so a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of these different organizations that are out there working on this kind of stuff. You can reach out to any of these people, any of these groups. I would particularly say, and instead of a conclusion, I'll do like a follow-up. So something for you guys to follow up on. Reach out to some different organizations. Software Carpentry is a great start. Our studio workshop tomorrow would be a great start if you're not familiar with it. Become a champion within your own organization so that you can kind of take it on yourself to try to take those risks, learn some of these different tools, and then help support the rest of your group in implementing some of those tools and bringing some of those ideas together. Some quick resources for all of our work, all of our Ocean Health Index stuff, you can find it at ohiscience.org, Better Science in Less Time. A lot of the links that, a lot of the groups and stuff like that that are in this presentation, you can find information there. My contact information there. And then I would highly recommend following Julie Stewart-Lowndes. She was the lead author on the paper, and she's a Mozilla Science Fellow now. So basically, her job is to reach out and help out scientists get into a more data science kind of mindset and implementing some of these tools and resources. So that's it. Thank you so much. And
thank you for that session. Before you guys leave, I just wanted to point out a few things. The workshop they're talking about, I just want you to remember, especially if you're a student,